The individual mandate isn't just any tax. It's a terribly regressive tax that imposes harsh burdens on low and middle-income taxpayers. According to the IRS, roughly 80% of Americans who paid the individual mandate tax in 2015 made less than $50,000 a year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Also, let's keep in mind that the mandate has been a pretty ineffective tool. It hasn't prevented premiums from skyrocketing, nor has it kept insurers from leaving markets. So in the end, keeping the individual mandate tax in place means retaining the status quo, which is not working too well.
Mr. Chairman, colleagues, it's now day 3 of this tax debate, and this bill seems to get worse by the hour. And let's not kid around. This is not just another garden variety attack on the Affordable Care Act. This is repeal of that law.
This is a very concerning, disappointing.
It appears, on the basis of our analysis, that health care is going to be cut more than $300 billion. And we ought to have the Congressional Budget Office here to tell us what harm this would do to various Americans who would be so directly affected.
Well, this is, as you know, a tax markup. JCT is here. I already said that in my opening remarks, so let's move on.
Mr. Chairman,
I want to move on.
Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Mr. Barthold, because he is with the Joint Committee on Taxation, do you have the ability, Mr. Barthold, to do what the Congressional Budget Office does and talk about who would actually be harmed by those $300 billion in cuts in health care? A question with respect to Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute. Let me be in control of this committee, not you. Now, I'm getting a little tired of being interrupted all the time and you calling on people and so forth. I love you personally, but we're going to run this thing like it should be run.
Do you have the expertise the Congressional Budget Office has to tell us who would be harmed in terms of premiums and coverage?
It's congressional budget.
Let me interrupt again. This is a tax.
It is a $300 billion
excuse me, Senator,
cut.
let me, I try not to interrupt you. I hope you don't interrupt me all day. Senator Stabenow.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, this is not like you.
No, it isn't.
The ranking,
it isn't, but it's not like you either.
The ranking member has asked a simple question. He ought to be able to have an answer.
As to your more general question about the Joint Committee's level of expertise in terms of national coverage and insurance premiums, no, that is more generally the work of the Congressional Budget Office.
This is a very different bill now, colleagues. We weren't talking about temporary tax cuts yesterday. They were permanent tax cuts. We didn't have the same double standard. We had certainly problems. We didn't have the same double standard that we have now, where there's a much harsher standard for middle-class families and for corporations. This is a very different bill. Colleagues, in that regard, this tax bill is now officially a health care bill.